Hey guys, what's up? So I'm going to be interviewing a past student, Luigi. He is an animator. He's also a full-time student. And when he joined our program, he was doing less than 1K per month, full-time at university with his animation business. He wasn't consistent when it comes to posting content, showing up on Instagram. He was doing fairly well. He already had a few thousand followers, but his growth has stagnated. He wasn't really growing, wasn't getting as much engagement as he wanted to because he just wasn't being consistent or as consistent as he could be. So after joining the program, he had a very big transformation. He went from where he was to landing some very big clients to getting some massive opportunities come his way. He landed some retainer clients. I know he now has a very solid business in place where he has these clients coming to him every month. I'm not sure how much he earns monthly, but I know it's more than from when he joined. Bearing in mind he is a full-time student still, so he's actually limited on how much he can take on board. He's had to say no to people. But one of the biggest changes we made with him was helping him to improve and optimize his content system and how he makes content. Because for him doing animation, it's one of those industries, one of those jobs where it just takes so much time. It takes so much time, so much processing power that you just simply don't have the bandwidth to make content, to do other things. And so we had to work really hard on building a content system for him that allowed him to generate content at scale while he was actually working and doing his job himself. And so that's one of the biggest changes, and that has allowed him to go from a few thousand followers to now having over 40,000 followers on Instagram, growing very quickly, and having some of his content consistently getting like 20,000 likes on it. So it's absolutely crazy what he's been able to do. But it's all possible, if you get the system right. And so I know that he's finishing his studies at university this year. I think that's actually quite soon that he finishes. And I know that he's had other animators and other people in the same space are now reaching out to him and seeing him as the authority and asking him for help, asking for advice in building their business, building their Instagram. And so he now has a great kind of opportunity ahead of him where he can, grow his actual animation business, and he can grow a coaching business, teaching other animators how to achieve the results that he had. So yeah, he's in a great position, and I'm very excited to have this catch up with him and his interview. And let's get straight into it. Appreciate you being here. Obviously, it's been a while since you've been in a program, been a while since we last spoke. So it's good to have that catch up, which we just had off camera. And obviously now the chance to interview you and see how things are going, and obviously the progress you've made. So yeah, obviously, first of all, thanks for being here. And obviously, like I said, I've already introduced you to some degree myself, but just give everyone watching a very quick overview of your journey. Like, let's just go kind of before you joined the program up to now, a quick overview of what that journey has been like and kind of the before and after and all the little details in between.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks for having me. Basically a short summary of what I used to do. I started out doing a lot of motion design and animation, sort of like really short daily stuff on my Instagram. I had no intention to start doing anything business related. The most I got was a couple of commissions, and I was earning like less than 1K a month, but that was like very inconsistently. As I'm also a student, it was very hard to get work and also grow an Instagram whilst at university. So now that's completely changed. So on a base level, a month, I make about 2K at the moment, which has been helpful like throughout the whole university career. And I've been able to create a sort of system with some strategies that I learned with Harry that have helped me to grow my business, as well as being able to do well enough in uni that I don't have as much stress as when I first started. So it's been a complete change of what I've been doing, and I really have sort of been thankful for the stuff that Harry was teaching me that helped me get to where I'm at today.
Yeah. No, that's good, mate. And I think I remember you messaged me a while ago, a few months ago, and you was like, Harry, I just landed a massive client. I remember you saying that, and I was like, oh wow, that's amazing. I think what's good is that, as you kind of mentioned before you started, it was it was inconsistent, and I think it wasn't inconsistent because you was incapable of being consistent. It was just simply because you didn't have the systems, you didn't have the strategy in place to allow yourself to be consistent. Because obviously, what you do is so time intensive that it's hard to kind of just make content quickly. You have to have a good system in place. So I think that was obviously one of the big things obviously we helped with, was putting that system in place. And I think you mentioned now you're outsourcing work as well to help you with time. Is that right?
Yes. So just a little rundown of what I do at the moment with sort of my process for work. So I freelance a lot of my stuff as animation does take a lot of time. there's a lot of processes you have to do within the actual animation process of a client. So a project could take up to a month to finish, if that. And obviously, when you are working with a client, you don't have time to market like work in general. So that means you don't get clients for the future. So in general, what I've been doing is if any project that either I can't take time to help with, or if there's way too much going on and I can't take that client, instead of saying no to the client, I talk to the client and I set them up with a fellow like colleague who is also either like a pixel animator or someone relevant to the skills that they need. I set them up together on a call, and I outsource them. So essentially, the person I outsource to gets the majority of the profits. I just get like a commission fee, kind of like how an agency would work. And that's mainly been the way I've been working at the moment to help bring in new clientele and still build those relationships with clients, and hopefully get those repeat clients in the future. But also, give opportunities to my own sort of friends and colleagues that I'm working with, and also growing with, because they're also freelancers themselves. And that's been the most optimal way that I've been sort of growing stuff at the moment.
Yeah, and with Instagram, kind of staying on that topic of time, where the business side of things is very time intensive, obviously Instagram as well, but you found a good system, and I think you've nailed the growth side of Instagram. And you said, I think at the start of the call, you've done maybe like 10,000 in the last month or something. Is that what you said? I can't remember.
Yeah, so I started June with about 10K. I think that's when I actually like broke that milestone. Yeah. And now it's like July 7th, and I'm nearly at 20K. Like I'm 19K at the moment. So it's been going really steadily, like since last year. So basically, I started, like, just for some context, around sort of this time last year with Harry, I was about like less than 5K followers. Yeah. And obviously it's been a year. So there's nothing that like, to write home about, but because I've also been like working a lot with university stuff, the amount of time I've been able to put in, I've found like Harry said, the systems that we sort of built together has helped me sort of keep that momentum growing, even when I'm away from like creating content. So when I'm either working on uni and a freelance project and I don't have time to do Instagram, my Instagram is still being able to grow, either with like the algorithm like blesses me with a viral reel or something like that, and I get a boost, or that I've managed to find a system that I can quickly create content that still, people want to reshare or still reach out to me about. Yeah. So it's been really good at the sort of strategies that I've sort of developed using sort of Harry systems as a foundation, essentially.
Yeah. No, 100%. What would you say then? I mean, there's obviously be people watching this who might be students, or who might be parents with kids, and they have a full-time job, they don't have much time. Like, what have you found for you to be the most helpful part of being able to make content quickly? Like, is it knowing your strategy ahead of time? Is it a certain system you have for making content? Like, what do you think it is actually allowed you to make content like at speed and at the scale you're doing? Okay,
so one of the things that I have is I have some issues with procrastination when it comes to creating sub content. So when I first started out, I'm not sure if Harry remembers, but carousel is one of the main things I dislike, because I had to write, and I don't like writing because I'm an animator. I like making things move, and I like designing pretty looking things. Yeah. So writing content was one of the things I hated the most. I started realizing that if I do my copywriting properly, it doesn't really matter how like much visuals I add to it, because if people don't want to read your content, be it if it's animation or something that requires to be looked at in some visual way, like if people won't read it, there's no point really to do it. So with Reels particularly, which has been my strongest sort of form of content, obviously like it's biased towards like my niche, because I am an animator, so people do like watching animations or seeing how animation is done. But within my niche, just being able to sort of effectively write reels in 15 seconds that get to the point, show exactly what they want to see, and also that they can do it themselves. So essentially, it's just something that's easy to follow and actionable. Yeah. That's how I've been writing all my content. So people can literally view it. They're like, I get exactly what this is. They share it. And then obviously that just boosts the algorithm even more. So that's been the main thing that I've sort of had with content, that if you do lack time, make sure your copywriting for the reels that you do get to the point quickly, so then you don't have to spend too much time having to either explain yourself in the comments to people or just have that sort of grow on its own. Because I've had some reels before where literally like in 15 seconds I showed someone, you can use this website, and I showed them how to use a website in 15 seconds, and then that reel blew up because people understood what it was for. They were like, oh, I can do this. And they literally checked it out afterwards and gave feedback straight back to me saying, yeah, this worked brilliantly. And obviously, because they comment it starts blowing it up, and then I don't even have to post for like the next week kind of thing. Yeah, so as relating back to the whole animation thing, because it does take me a lot of time to create content, I sort of started thinking about content differently. So instead of having to think of like, oh, how do I create content every day, it's like, what's the quota I need to sort of fill at the start of a week and start batching stuff together. So with my pixel art, which is the main thing I do at the moment, I spend about 2 weeks sort of producing and animating like a piece. But rather than waiting 2 weeks to post, I find parts of my process that I know I can show. So with animation, I can show off the behind the scenes as a reel, and I can show people, this is how you design like a character's face, or this is how you get this effect. I show them a quick tutorial that they can do themselves, regardless of software and regardless of accessibility to like a computer, basically, just to give them the knowledge that they're like, oh, now I know how to do this, and then they can use it however they want. So that's essentially it. Like, find whatever process you have, break it down to as simple steps as possible, and make sure people can either like understand and take action from it. That's like the main thing I found with content. So yeah, it's mainly just like make sure copywriting is good and it's digestible enough for people to share, essentially.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think I remember we had a call once, and I think we're discussing like, making content and how to speed it up. And I think I said, or I gave you the story of, setting sawdust, and how like, there are going to be things you do in your process which you might think are just waste or just parts of your process, but if you actually captured it, then you can take that and put it into content. And that's essentially what you're saying is, look, if you have a job or a skill you have where it's like a very long process to get to it, rather than just make content around the end goal, like the outcome, that entire process is content in itself. Being able to show that. So yeah, I mean, that's super interesting. And I think that probably some of your best reels are the process reels, not just the outcome.
Honestly, it has been like I mentioned, the video reference. I made a reel about how to use a video reference like tool, and it was like the simplest thing ever. But everyone was like, "Oh my god, I'd never thought of this, or I've never seen this before. Like, how did I miss this?" And I was like, the simpler something is, usually people are like, "Oh, I've missed this. I didn't even know it was that simple." It's like, well, there you go. You've just given them like a really quick solution that they can instantly check out. Like I've seen. That isn't like original to me. I saw a lot of other content creators who either do animation as well or do things particularly like digital art. A lot of them have certain tools or websites that either people haven't heard about before or didn't know you can use in that way. And if you have a very specific way of working, particularly if you're in a creative field, show off how you do, because every creative works differently. And if you're within that niche, it's probably the best thing you can do is just show any sort of minor bits that you may take for granted yourself, but someone else may have that as like a golden nugget of information. So yeah, no, 100%. And what do you think then in terms of for those again who are students or perhaps in a full-time job who have kind of lack of time, why do you think you were able to have success in our program, considering you had those limitations on time, energy and other things? Like, do you think there's a particular mindset trait you've got? Do you think it was your ability to plan your day? Was it a certain habit you put in place? Like, what do you think it was that's allowed you to have success, considering the limitations you've had on time and your energy? Okay. So for me, one of the things that has been helping me like continue and keep that motivation is that I've been, as much as I'm treating this like a proper business, I do know that I am still like a human being who needs to like take things at a time. I don't like rushing things or, having to get on like the latest trend immediately. Like that's not what I'm for. I like taking my time with things, and I treat Instagram more like a marathon than anything else. So my mindset at the moment of a lot of the stuff I do is like, I show up every day consistently, but every single day I try something different. Like if I see, a way you could sort of phrase is that you want to measure what you're doing in some capacity. So I know if I produce certain types of content and they're not performing as well, I'm like, how could I change this to spice it up? For example, in my current sort of state of Instagram, I've stopped sort of doing a certain content pillar or a certain like topic of content because it wasn't getting as much feedback, because there were people who did it better and I couldn't add anything to it. However, I found a certain style of posting that no one really does on Instagram, and I was like, I'll give this a shot. And just by sort of looking at stuff that's happening and measuring what's been happening, I was able to sort of experiment every single day. And obviously, like the more you produce, the more likely you are to see results. So I now know from posting like 4 or 3 weeks worth of this one particular post that people are sort of eating it up and like commenting, sharing, liking it. It boosted my following a lot. So now I know to cranking that up to a level where I'm starting to get other people to help me create content like that, so I can post more of it. So that's essentially the sort of mindset that I've had since starting, is like, you got to show up every day to create content, because if you can't measure where your sort of content is going, then you won't really know where to put your energy into. Because as Harry's been saying, like if we are students or full-time work, we have little time. So there is literally no point spending hours like just shooting and spraying and seeing where we hit. It's better to like focus in on certain bits, testing it like every other week or every week, and at the end of the month, sort of do a review of saying what's been working, what am I enjoying doing? Because obviously, if you don't enjoy a certain type of content, it's going to show, as I've experienced myself. So just make sure that you're testing things consistently and you're showing up either every day or every other day or whenever it's possible. Even if it's for like just like 10 minutes of writing and then seeing if people like it, either by posting a story or discussing something quick, you can sort of get a gauge of where people's like expectations are, where their pain points are, and you can start targeting things directly and sort of skip time having just to like spending like say an hour in a carousel that you know will flop because no one asked for it, essentially. So just make sure you're measuring stuff and that you're testing things consistently.
Yeah. There's some good points there to kind of like summarize. You mentioned about, well, not directly, but saying, have patience. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. It's a marathon. With Instagram, if you're patient, then it will pay off. And I think for you, obviously, when we started, you was in, tell me if I'm wrong, but you was in your second year of university.
Second year this year.
Sorry, you was in the first year of university, now in your second year, and you're kind of coming closer to the end of your time at uni. And like, as you've been coming closer to the end, I guess as you've been improving as well, your growth has slowly been going up and up and up. Now to the point where I think from what you're saying, it's now going exponential. And that's because you've been patient. It's because you haven't been trying to rush. You've been focusing on the quality of your content, but at the same time, the quantity, so getting that good balance of the two, and not necessarily, like you said, not necessarily posting every single day, but you're showing up every single day, whether it's just a story or whether it's connecting or whether it's looking at your analytics and trying to improve. Like every day you're doing something to move yourself closer to that goal. And I think that is one of the big reasons why, you specifically have had the success you've had, is because you have been consistent. Even if consistent means doing 3 posts a week, it's always 3 posts a week, not one here, one there, wait 2 weeks. Like it's always been consistent. You've always shown up, so obviously props to you for doing that, especially with uni, studies, exams, life, everything else going on. Like it's mad how you've done it. As I was saying, before, it's just mad how you've been able to do this and kind of get where you are now. And I think what's a good thing about it is, a bit of perspective for yourself is to think, if you can do all of this with the limited time you have now, imagine what's possible when you have all the time in the world. It's like there's so much room there for you to grow, which is just exciting. It's exciting for me, and I'm sure it's exciting for you as well. But I'm very, very happy for you as well, and I think you've done a great job. So look, last kind of question I wanted to ask is, you obviously made a decision, last year when you obviously joined the program, to invest in yourself. Now, obviously, many people invest in themselves, and everyone has a different kind of reason as to why they do it. What was your reason? Was there a reason? Was it more just a case of there's potential opportunity here? Like, what was your reasoning? Was there any particular motivation behind it? Like, just talk us through why you decided to invest in yourself at that time specifically.
So at the time, I was quite lost with what I wanted to do, and I didn't really know where to go or what to do. But what sort of that year specifically, I realized like when lockdown was just sort of finishing or still in process over here, I started investing in a lot of courses. Like I was learning motion design for the first time, I was learning animation stuff, and I started seeing progress the more I sort of invested in it. Obviously, I'm not saying I was spending like, thousands or whatnot, but I was spending like enough that I could see a noticeable difference depending on the quality of teacher that I had, as well as like how good the course was reviewed at. Obviously, I started off with books. I started like investing a lot of books, reading the books, studying what they were doing, and so taking notes and testing them out whenever I had the chance. Same with the courses. I would take a course, Sometimes I'd produce stuff that I post on my Instagram, and then I'd see, oh, this is looking pretty cool. I could see a visual progression of my work itself. Because obviously I work with quite a visual medium. Like even if you check out my Instagram at the moment, I still have some of my really early posts and my really early animations. You can see the progression that it's had from pretty much 2 years ago when I first started. So obviously when it came to last year, when I was like deciding to, progress to the next level, I already had that sort of basis that I knew if I needed to like make more money, I needed to invest more money in myself. So obviously I've been following Harry for a while, and I had good faith in his content, what he was doing. So when we had a talk, I was already like in the mindset like, yeah, I know that this will return back. And obviously, it has, which I'm obviously very grateful for, but it literally was that I now in sort of retrospect as well, I have realized like the more you want to progress, the more you're going to have to sort of invest time. Well, not so much time, but sometimes you have to invest in the expertise to get to where you want faster. Because sometimes like you can like I could have gotten to where I'm at, but it may have taken me a couple more years to get to this place. Like Harry taught me a lot of systems that I didn't even know you could do with Instagram. And then I started understanding when I was on my own. Like once I left the program, I was able to understand the processes a lot better. And that's how I was able to develop on my own outside of it. And obviously now I'm at a stage where I can now invest again in some other specific things that I know I need work with. So I know with my animation stuff, I know now that I need to invest more time in some character animation techniques. So I know I'm going to be getting courses for that, or getting to like mentorships with people who know a lot more than me, so then I can progress to that level on my own. Essentially, is that invest in yourself just sort of buys you time back, and then you can reinvest later into either improving a certain part of your career or speeding up the time so you can have more free time, essentially.
Yeah, no, 100%. And you made a good point about investing in yourself, you're getting the time back, but also you said about how when you left a program, it wasn't like that was it, you were stuck, you couldn't do it again. It's like you would learn how to be self-sufficient, you would learn how to do it on your own, to analyze things on your own, to improve on your own, and to kind of get to where you are today all on your own without needing my help or whoever else's help to get there. And I think that's just something that's really important that people need to think about when they're investing in something, is to make sure that yes, it gives you the outcome you're looking for, but also is it going to allow you to consistently get the outcome you're looking for without having your hand held by the coach, by the program, or wherever it might be. So it's quite a good point you made there. So look, I think we'll wrap up there. I don't want to keep you any longer. Obviously I appreciate you jumping on. It's obviously been great to catch up, great to hear what you're doing today. I can imagine big things are going to happen for you, especially over this next year. Stay consistent, put in the time as you are. Like I said, I'm always here for advice, but I know that you'll be able to do it all on your own if you really wanted to, because you have that skill set now to do it. Before we finish, where is the best place for people to find you? Is it Instagram? Any other platforms at all? Where should everyone?
Primarily is the Instagram, but I do have like YouTube. You can find me on most social media platforms at the moment, but yeah, primarily YouTube or Instagram. But Instagram's where I'm building everything at the moment, so you'll most likely catch me there.
Yeah, cool. All right, mate. Well, look, I will put your all your links down below in the description for people to check you out. And yeah, I appreciate you jumping on, and we'll catch up soon.
No worries, mate. Stay safe. See you later.
Cheers.